Let us discuss human digestive system in slightly detailed manner. This is the photograph of human digestive system. Some of the main parts of the human digestive system, obviously it begins with mouth, and mouth includes buccal cavity, that is the gap which is there in our mouth. And what mouth includes, that we shall discuss a little bit later on. It also includes after mouth, then it is followed by the pharynx. Pharynx is followed by the esophagus. Esophagus then followed by stomach. Stomach, after that we have small intestine. Then the large intestine, and then lastly the rectum and the anus. So these are some of the parts of human digestive system, the main alimentary canal. Along with that, it will have liver as an accessory organ and also the pancreas. Also in the mouth we have salivary glands. So see, these are some of the accessory glands present in human digestive system. Mouth, it's a special organ which is meant for the ingestion of the food. That means the process of ingestion of food takes place with the help of takes place in mouth. So with the help of our hands, we know that we put food in our mouth. Mouth includes the buccal cavity, that is the mouth cavity, which contains teeth, tongue, salivary glands, and obviously the saliva. Also the teeth. We know that we have 4 different kinds of teeth, that is the incisors, the canines, the premolars, and the molars. And the main function of this teeth is what? To cut the food, the complex food that you have consumed, into small pieces, chew them, and also grind them in proper manner. It also includes tongue, and tongue, the main function of this tongue is not only to move the food from here and there, but also identify the taste of the food. Biologically, the main function of tongue is to mix food with saliva. And then we have the salivary glands, which secretes saliva in our mouth. We have 3 different positions of salivary gland. Number 1, that is the parotid gland, which is located in the back portion of our mouth. Then that is sublingual, just below the tongue. And then there is the submandibular, located somewhere around over here in the inner part, obviously. That is the salivary glands that we have, which secretes saliva. Now what is saliva? It's a watery liquid. Number 1, it wets liquid. It wets food and makes the mouth to swallow that easily. Makes the food slimy. It contains various enzymes, especially enzyme like amylase. And this amylase is responsible for the digestion of starch, a type of carbohydrate. And starch is digested into maltose. So the digestion of starch, digestion of food in fact, begins in our mouth. And digestion of starch begins in the mouth. But that digestion is not complete. So in mouth, the digestion is still incomplete. This is the video which will explain to you that how food is chewed and how salivary glands secretes saliva, mixes with the food and makes that food slimy and easily swallowable. Esophagus, that is the food pipe. Generally we call it as a food pipe, starting from the pharynx and extending right up to stomach. That is esophagus. It's a long tubular structure which carries food from pharynx to the stomach. Partly digested food from mouth goes into this esophagus, and that goes into the esophagus by a movement, what we call it as peristaltic movement, or as the peristalsis. Stomach, it's a muscular bag slightly on the left side of the abdomen. If someone asks you, where is the stomach? Generally we show it, this is somewhere over here. It's not correct. It should be slightly on the left hand side, and that is a muscular bag. The food which is carried from pharynx enters into stomach through esophagus. So food is carried from esophagus to the stomach. The food over here would be churned properly so that it can be reacted with the various substances in the gastric juices in the stomach. That means food is churned over here for approximately 3 to 4 hours. The food breaks down into small pieces, number 1, converts into semi-solid paste form in stomach. The walls of the stomach, they contain 3 tubular glands. Each of them is going to secrete one kind of gastric juice. That gastric juice will contain 3 different things. Number 1, hydrochloric acid. Number 2, enzyme, that is pepsinogen. And number 3, that is mucus. When the food bolus that enters into the stomach, see, the secretion of the gastric juice takes place inside the stomach, breaking that food particle into the simpler absorbable form. Now that is necessary because the HCl is necessary for its own purpose. Pepsinogen, which gets converted into pepsin, and that is necessary for the process of digestion of protein. And mucus, to prevent the inner lining of the stomach from the acidic effect of the hydrochloric acid. So such gastric juices are secreted inside the stomach, which is responsible for causing the beginning and also the continuation of the digestion inside the stomach. The mucus which is present in this, that prevents the inner linings of the stomach from the action of the hydrochloric acid and the pepsin. Pepsin is prepared from the pepsinogen. Inactive form, pepsinogen. Activated form, which is necessary for the digestion of protein, that is called as pepsin. Then this partly digested food from stomach will go into the small intestine. Exit of this food from stomach to the small intestine, that is being protected by a sphincter muscle valve, which releases food into small amount into the small intestine. Otherwise, the small intestine might suffer some problem due to extra amount of the pressure that is being given out by the stomach. So, it has to enter into the small intestine in a gradual manner. The hydrochloric acid which was secreted inside the stomach, it makes that food acidic in medium. That is mainly for 2 purposes. Number 1, for killing the bacteria, and also the acidic medium helps enzyme pepsin to digest the protein and convert it into the small molecules. Digestion of protein, thus you can see that it begins in stomach. Digestion of carbohydrate began in the mouth due to the amylase which was present in the saliva. Whereas the digestion of protein begins in stomach due to the enzyme pepsin, which is obtained from the pepsinogen. Small intestine. It's the largest part of our alimentary canal. Now let me tell you that the length of this small intestine depends on what type of animal it is. If it is a herbivorous animal, means it has to digest cellulose also. That means over there the small intestine will be much longer as compared to our, which is approximately 6.5 meter long. Whereas in case of carnivorous, they don't have to digest cellulose. Therefore, their length of their small intestine would be much less as compared to, in fact, our body also. But in adult human male, it would be approximately 6.5 meter long. The digestion of carbohydrates, proteins and fats is completed in the small intestine. It is this small intestine which receives bile from the liver and pancreatic juice from the pancreas. The glands of the walls of the small intestine, which secrete intestinal juice, they contain various large number of enzymes, and these enzymes are responsible for the completion of digestion of carbohydrates. Enzyme would be obviously amylase. Protein enzyme would be pepsin, and for fats that would be lipase. These enzymes are responsible for completion of digestion of carbohydrates, obviously by amylase. Carbohydrates will be converted into glucose. That will be done by amylase. Protein will be converted into amino acids. That is simpler form of nitrogenous compounds. That will be done by pepsin. And fats will be converted into fatty acids and glycerol. That will be done by lipase. Let us see that how the action of various enzymes take place in this small intestine. See, the mixture of enzymes coming down from both liver part, that is bile, and pancreatic juice from the pancreas take place. It is liver which is responsible for various important functions which are going on in the digestive system. Whatever the food that we consume, first of all, before going into the circulatory system, will go into the liver part, will get detoxified and will be brought back to the digestive system once again. Pancreas release the hormone known as insulin and also an enzyme which is called as the trypsin and lipase, which is responsible for important digestion functions. These pancreas are responsible for the sugar metabolism and also for the fat digestion lipase. Supposing a particle which enters into the small intestine will undergo various absorption processes. After complete digestion in the small intestine, now the absorption of the digested food takes place. The inner walls of the small intestine are not smooth, but they contain various finger-like structures, and these finger-like structures are called as villi. The main function of this villi is to increase the surface area by which the absorption can be carried out very efficiently. So for rapid absorption of the digested food, villi is a must. Absorbed food, as you can see in this video downloaded from YouTube, these are the structures of the villi. And the food particles, the digested food particles will come in contact with the villi. Villi are richly supplied by the blood vessels. That is, small blood capillaries are there inside the villi. And the food particles, they come in contact with the blood, and that travels along with the blood, reaches each and every cell and becomes an integral part of that particular cell. So, the absorbed food is carried by the blood particles, which is absorbed by villi, which is present in the small intestine. Bile. It's a greenish yellow liquid which is stored in the gallbladder. That will be obviously secreted from the liver part. It is alkaline in nature, that means basic in nature, not acidic, but it is basic and contains large number of salts in it. Converts acidic food from stomach. Stomach, due to secretion of the dilute hydrochloric acid, food got converted into acidic form, because that was necessary for the action of pepsin. Whereas the same food now has to be converted into alkaline form, and that is why bile is necessary. Now, why alkaline form is necessary? It is only in the presence of alkaline condition the pancreatic enzyme can perform its action on that particular food. So the bile salts, they break up the fat which is present in the food, and it converts them into small globules so that enzymes can act on them very easily. Whereas in case of pancreatic juice, they contain enzymes like amylase, trypsin and lipase. Amylase, you know that it digests starch. Trypsin digests the protein, and the lipase that digests the fats. The glands of the walls of the small intestine secrete this intestinal juice, and that is where these enzymes are present. And these enzymes are responsible for the completion of digestion of carbohydrate into glucose, proteins into amino acids, and fats into fatty acids, and obviously glycerol. Large intestine. It is shorter, wider, arranged in the form of around the coil of that particular small intestine. The greater part of the larger intestine is colon, ascending colon, transverse colon, and the descending colon, and that will be followed by rectum, anal canal, and lastly that is anus. The undigested food mass that has come from small intestine will pass into the large intestine, where extra amount of the water by mistake which might have entered into the large intestine, that will be reabsorbed by the large intestine. The undigested mass of the food, that is the undigested part of that food, will become almost solid or in the paste form and will be removed from the body via anus. The exit of that anus is regulated by the sphincter muscle, and as and when the pressure is exerted, that will be expelled out of the body, that will be egested out of the body by the process of egestion. So this is how the undigested mass from the small intestine enters into the first of all ascending colon, transverse colon, and now the descending colon. These are the various parts of the colon. Then it enters into the rectum portion, and lastly through anus it will be expelled out of the body. Let us revise about the enzymes of the digestive system. So, what are the names of the enzymes which are present in the digestive system? Where are they produced? And what is the function of each of the enzyme? Amylase is produced in salivary glands and also in pancreas. The main function is to convert starch into maltose in mouth and digestion of starch in the small intestine. Pepsin is produced in the walls of stomach in the form of the gastric juice. In the partial digestion of protein takes place due to pepsin. Trypsin, that is produced in pancreas, and that is responsible for the completion of digestion of protein. Protein will be converted into, obviously, the amino acids, you know that. And lastly, the lipase, that is also produced in pancreas, which is responsible for the digestion of fats in the small intestine.